away, and we'll be locked in the whole way through. Here are the first round matchups: Liberty versus the Dream, Lynx versus the Mercury, Sun Fever in the 4-5 matchup, the Aces versus the Storm. But how about the Fever?
I feel like it's a great accomplishment, but like there's so much more left to be done. Like, yeah, we made the playoffs. There's 6 regular season games.
Yeah, they're a very dangerous team coming into this postseason. You know, they always tell you that the team that you want to watch out for are the teams that get hot at the right time.
Remember when you scored 60 points in a high school game? No? Well, Caitlin Clark does. This girl's been a scoring machine since forever. But now she's doing it in the WNBA, and boy, is she shaking things up. Let's talk about how this rookie is changing the game and why the league might be scared. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Clark's rookie season, it's insane. We're talking over 19 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. That's not just good, that's Rookie of the Year good. She's making veterans look like they're still in high school. But here's the crazy part. Clark's impact goes beyond the court. She's boosting attendance by 182%. You know who only managed 64%? Michael Jordan. Yeah, that Michael Jordan. Clark's not just playing the game, she's changing it.
She has lived up to expectations, right? I'm looking at her the way I look at LeBron James, right? For us, just in the women's side of things, and the height that she had, the expectations she had.
Let's start with the rookie, Caitlin Clark-Kent. Superwoman, you see what I did there? She was on a tear, and last night was no different. Wings, fever. Caitlin Clark set to go as she broke the single-season assist record.
She's been playing like a top 5 player in the league. She's been regularly dishing out double-digit assists in that time frame. Teams can no longer blitz her and trap her.
But not everyone's happy about this new superstar. You won't believe what the WNBA did next. You'd think with all the buzz around Caitlin Clark, the WNBA would be shouting her name from the rooftops. But their latest promo had a glaring omission that sent shockwaves through the basketball world. What were they thinking? Picture this. The WNBA playoffs are just around the corner, and the league's social media team is gearing up to hype the fans. They're creating promotional posts, showcasing the stars who will light up the court. But wait a second. Where's Caitlin Clark? In a move that left fans scratching their heads, the WNBA's official X account dropped a playoff promo featuring several star players. The kicker? They completely left out the rookie sensation who's been setting the league on fire. It's like forgetting to invite LeBron to the All-Star game. Instead of Clark, they featured Kelsey Mitchell. Now, Mitchell's a great player, don't get me wrong, but leaving out Clark, that's like forgetting the main ingredient in your grandma's secret recipe. Fans were not having it. The backlash was immediate and intense. Social media exploded with angry reactions. One fan tweeted, "How do you forget Caitlin Clark in your playoff promo?"
She's the first rookie to win WNBA Player of the Month since the award's inception in 2010, and last night it was no exception. They were sky high for Caitlin Clark and the Fever, but to start the season, they had a little bit of a rough go of it. They lost their first 5 games. They ended up 1-8 through their first 9 games, and during that first month, the playoffs, they didn't feel realistic at all. Indy entered the Olympic break 11-15 on the year, and then they really turned it around. They've won 7 of their 8 since. They clinched a playoff berth for the first time since 2016, which, by the way, was the last year of Hall of Famer and franchise icon Tamika Catchings.
That's like forgetting to put Michael Jordan in a Bulls highlight reel. Another chimed in, "Is the WNBA trying to sabotage itself? Clark is the best thing to happen to the league in years." The outrage was so widespread, you'd think the WNBA had announced they were canceling the season. Fans were comparing it to major marketing blunders in sports history. It was clear the league had majorly dropped the ball. But here's where it gets interesting. The WNBA, realizing they'd just stepped on a landmine, went into full damage control mode. Faster than you can say triple-double, they updated their promo to include Caitlin Clark. Talk about a quick 180. This rapid backtrack shows just how much influence Clark has gained in such a short time. The WNBA couldn't afford to ignore the voice of the fans, especially when it came to their new superstar. It's a clear sign that Clark isn't just changing the game on the court, she's changing how the league operates off it too. But this whole fiasco raises some interesting questions. Was this really just an innocent oversight? Or is there something more going on behind the scenes? Are some in the WNBA feeling threatened by Clark's meteoric rise? Forget the social media drama for a second. There's a bigger story unfolding here, and it's all about the numbers. How much impact can one player really have on an entire league? In Caitlin Clark's case, the answer might shock you. Let's talk about viewership, because these numbers are insane. Clark's games are pulling in crowds like nobody's business. We're talking 2.3 million views for the Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky game, and it doesn't stop there. The Seattle Storm versus Indiana Fever game? 2.2 million views. That's not just good, that's game-changing. You know what's even crazier? These numbers are blowing the average WNBA game viewership out of the water. It's like Clark has some kind of magical power to turn casual fans into die-hard WNBA enthusiasts overnight. She's not just playing basketball, she's putting on a show that people can't resist tuning in to see. And here's the kicker. Without Clark, would anyone even be talking about the WNBA, let alone watching their games? One fan put it bluntly, without her, would nobody even be talking about the damn WNBA, let alone watching their games? Harsh? Maybe. But it's hard to argue with those viewing numbers. This isn't just about one player having a good season. Clark's impact is sending shockwaves through the entire league. More viewers mean more eyeballs on ads, more ticket sales, and more merchandise flying off the shelves. It's like she's single-handedly giving the WNBA a financial shot in the arm. Think about what this could mean for the future of the WNBA. Higher viewership leads to more revenue. More revenue means better salaries for players, improved facilities, and maybe even expansion teams. Clark isn't just changing the game on the court, she's potentially changing the entire landscape of women's professional basketball. But here's where things get weird. With all this buzz, you'd think the WNBA would be plastering Clark's face on every billboard from here to Timbuktu. So why does it seem like they're hesitant to fully embrace their new superstar? It's like they've got a golden goose, and they're not sure whether to show it off or hide it in the barn. While the WNBA figures out how to handle their new star, something bigger is brewing. Remember when people said women's basketball would never have its Michael Jordan moment? Well, those people might want to sit down for this, because history is being made right before our eyes.
First time they've tasted the playoffs since 2016, but don't think for a second they're just content to be in the postseason.
And this Indiana Fever team has most certainly gotten hot at the right time. They figured out how to gel with each other, the chemistry that they've built, the backcourt between Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, who Mitchell is really coming in to this season.
Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's a full-on movement. This girl is changing the game in ways we haven't seen before. You know how some players are good and some are great? Clark is in a whole new category. She's not just putting up numbers, she's redefining what's possible in women's basketball. Let's talk about impact. Clark's team, the Indiana Fever, went from a 13-27 record to 20-20. That's not just an improvement, that's a complete turnaround. It's like Clark walked in and said, "Losing? We don't do that here." And the team listened. But it's not just about wins and losses. Clark is bringing in fans like nobody's business. People who've never watched a WNBA game in their lives are suddenly glued to their screens. Why? Because Clark plays with a style and flair that's just irresistible. She's not just playing basketball, she's putting on a show. And get this, fans are comparing her to Michael Jordan. Yeah, that Michael Jordan. One fan said, "That's why I call her the female MJ. Nobody else has done what she's done." That's not just hype, that's recognition of something special. Clark isn't just good for women's basketball, she's good for basketball. Period. But here's where it gets really interesting. Clark isn't just changing how the game is played, she's changing how people see women's basketball. She's inspiring a whole new generation of fans and players. Little girls are watching her and thinking, "I want to do that." And you know what? Some of them will. This is bigger than just one player having a good season. Clark is showing what's possible when talent meets opportunity. She's proving that women's basketball can be just as exciting, just as skillful, and just as worthy of attention as men's basketball. And people are starting to pay attention. So what does this mean for the WNBA? Well, they've got a choice to make. They can either embrace this change and ride the wave, or they can try to stick to the old ways. But here's the thing. Change is coming whether they like it or not. Clark isn't just the future of the league, she's the now. All right, let's wrap this up. Caitlin Clark's not just a player, she's a game changer. She's got the skills, the style, and the star power to take the WNBA to new heights. But the league? They're still figuring out how to handle this superstar. Remember that social media slip-up? It shows the WNBA is still learning. But with Clark pulling in viewers like crazy and changing how people see women's basketball, they can't ignore her impact. So here's the million-dollar question. How should the WNBA deal with superstars like Clark? Should they change how they promote players? It's not just about Clark, it's about the future of the league. What do you think? Should the WNBA go all in on promoting their stars? Or stick to the old playbook? Drop your thoughts in the comments and keep watching, because Clark's journey in the WNBA, it's just getting started.